do this all in one swoop. Did I think it would get done a little bit earlier? I told you the other day, press conference Thursday or Friday. Probably a press conference on Friday.
Friday or Monday. It's not going to be day of because you got to finalize this, and they like to put it out ahead of time. Hey, here's the introduction and all that. So earliest Friday, latest Monday.
Probably also just FYI on this. Anytime they do something like this, there's press conferences, and you kind of laugh about this. I did it first when I was working with the Big Spur. They typically like to have almost a 24-hour rule where any television station from Charleston or Greenville
time to come up here, and
you can't like schedule something immediately.
Yeah, it's not all right. The board of trustees meeting is at 9:00, and then at noon we're going to introduce these guys. Like you gotta.
You could technically now,
but again, for press reasons,
right?
You give them a window. So yes, I'm sure because the meeting shouldn't last too long tomorrow morning. After that, we'll find out if it's Friday or Monday or whatever the deal is. And we may be carrying that Friday during the show for all I know,
right.
depending on what time it is.
Yeah, or Monday. So we'll get more of it, but it is now all but official. But again, as we have said, and we laugh, James Coley signed a contract and stuck around for 2 weeks.
That's true. So
there were rumors of Marquell Blackwell going to Ohio State
until they line up against Kent State on September 5th.
I would say once we get to whatever it is at Media Day, I think we're good. Until
probably.
then, you're.
I mean, maybe after spring practice. Maybe then you say, all right, I think he's here.
Okay. I'd say, but we'll see what happens. But again, Kendall Briles, Stan Drayton, and it'll be Randy Clements, and we'll get into all of those. And again, the reason this is now dragged out is because they wanted all three done before any official announcement. I know it was Monday night. I saw your tweet. I just was not in the shape to start tweeting out and putting stuff back out. But you said there it is.
Yep.
Sometime around 9 o'clock. It was Pete Thamel that you, I think, retweeted.
Well, once those guys get a hold of it, that's like, all right, it's going to happen. You're just waiting for all the ink to dry, so to speak. And again, tomorrow morning meeting, and tomorrow we'll obviously talk about what the details of the contract and the salary and years and all that kind of stuff, because I'm interested to see. Because he was making about 1.4-ish at TCU. Like, all right, are you making him like one of the highest paid assistants in the country? Are you in that $2 million range? Because there's a lot of reasons for him to leave TCU to come here, but money is usually kind of the driving factor. So how lucrative is it going to be for Kendall Briles to be the offensive coordinator here is going to be interesting to see.
Look, they're paying to me, what this will signify is what is Jeremiah Donati willing to do. If it's up to Shane Beamer's like, just whatever the guy costs, I'll pay him.
Right.
It's not Shane Beamer's money, right?
Sure.
It's the bank's money. It's the monopoly money. What did Jeremiah Donati approve to make this work? And it's going to be really interesting because you've got Clayton White at $2.1 million. Again, we knew the importance of this offensive coordinator hire. What did and by the way, I want to talk about Garrett Riley. So if I accidentally say Garrett Riley, and when I'm meaning Kendall Briles, it feels like those two are linked at the hip.
A little bit, yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
But anyway, with that being said, it's a situation where, did he need some assurances? And again, because let's be honest, if something were to happen and we're sitting here on December 10th of next year, now, whoever, you never know how it's going to go, but I would assume that Garrett Riley. Sorry, there it was.
There it is.
I've got the article up in front of me because of the Garrett Riley stuff.
Right.
But if so now I'm looking directly at Garrett Riley's name. But if Kendall Briles, if the staff was to be absolved next year, and and they were to move on, he's fine. And not only will he get a job, he'll probably get a pretty doggone good job.
Yeah, I mean and again, we've skimmed over some of the numbers the other day. He's got a good resume as an offensive coordinator. Obviously runs a college-specific type of offense that is, as long as he wants it, is always going to be welcomed with jobs. And look, he could be using this as a springboard to becoming a head coach somewhere. He's in his early 40s. He's kind of right around that age where guys will typically start taking head coach's jobs. So, and that may be one of the reasons to come here is like, hey, if I can go there and turn around this dismal offense at South Carolina, I could be a head coach somewhere in 27 or 28. Who knows? That I don't know if that's part of his MO, but that's certainly a thought of why he might want to come here and be a part of this.
The reason I bring up Garrett Riley is because, again, it feels like him and Kendall Briles are kind of linked at the hip. And there are now, I say reports by very good sources out there. I believe Tiger Illustrated. I'm not sure which one from Tiger Illustrated, which one of the guys put it out there, Larry Williams or Chris Artahum, but guys that know that Garrett Riley has indeed interviewed for the job at Coastal Carolina.
Yep,
with Chance Miller. I don't know if y'all discussed that yesterday. And that would be an interesting swing of things, just because, again, it was several years ago, 3 years ago, that Gamecock fans clamored for Garrett Riley to be the offense coordinator.
Sure.
Clemson hired him.
Sure.
Gamecock fans went to Kendall Briles and got Dow Loggins.
Say, funny enough, another guy that was in the Sonny Dykes system at SMU. He was the offensive coordinator for the team that went to the national championship. These two guys are kind of linked in a lot of ways. It's kind of funny.
It's interesting. And, what does our good buddy Chance Miller do? Again, according to different sources, he's got a few more interviews that he would like to do this week to kind of look and see who he wants. It does appear that he is looking offensive.
Yeah.
If you looked at some of the names that are out there,
I'm secretly hoping for Tim Beck from Vanderbilt to replace Tim Beck from Coastal just for the lulls. Because how often are we going to get a chance to replace one guy with the exact
same name? Yeah,
we have to make a distinction of which Tim Beck you're talking about in terms of eras of Coastal football. Probably not going to happen. It'll be hilarious if it did.
See what you're trying to do there. I'm pulling for Garrett Riley to get the job. I've mentioned it. I'm all in on Coastal. I got to get some Coastal gear for the upcoming season. Kevin Schnall is another buddy of mine. He'll become a buddy of Dave's.
Just don't try and joke around with him too much.
No. Well, we were starting to break him. We were working. We're getting closer. We probably have to get him back on in the very near future. So a lot to get to there. We'll follow up. We'll get Tyler's thoughts on Stan Drayton and Randy Clements. We'll talk a little bit about those when we come back. You're listening to The Halftime Show. 12:20 on a Wednesday, December the 10th. Tomorrow night, we get the SEC date by date schedule release. I'm kind of looking forward to that, to see everything's kind of falling into place, right? Like we get all this by the end of the week, and then according to his timeline, Lenora Sellers, and I want to get into this a little bit coming up. This will be more of a next week conversation too. But according to his timeline, Lenora Sellers technically goes on the clock, Friday after about 2? We'll give him to 2 or 3 exams. He said he's got exams this week.
That's right. Yeah.
Totally understandable. That's why men's basketball is not. That's why men's. And
I've taken exams at like 8 o'clock at night before, so maybe we give him the whole day.
Okay. You want to say Saturday morning then?
Sure. Saturday morning, the clock starts on. All right, buddy, we got some decisions to be made here because you're the big swing in this whole thing in terms of
nationally.
Nationally, yes. From
according to CBS Sports
portal standpoint, obviously what this offense is going to look like, because right now, if I say, hey, Sellers is coming back, you feel a certain way about this offense as opposed to if I said he's not here and you got to figure out your quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be honest. Sellers says he's coming back. Gamecock Larry would say 12-0 without a doubt.
12-0 until they lose, then 11-1.
So, if he wasn't coming back, Gamecock Larry might give him a little bit of grace and say 11-1.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we'll give him a mulligan, but that's it.
Gamecock Larry might look at it like, well, Kent State, we got to find a new quarterback in the opener. But after that, they're all victories. They're all victories. So we'll talk more about that coming up later on because we'll get to that CBS Sports article on Lenora Sellers. But let's get back to now what is being reported out there by multiple outlets. John Whittle, thebigspur.com. I know your buddies, our buddies, Chris and Wes, also over at Gamecock Central have it. But let's start with the offensive line coach.
Yes.
Randy Clements now will likely – is set to be the hire. That's going to be the guy. Clements currently is at TCU. He is an assistant offensive line coach. Now, if I've read this right, you tell me if I've missed something, because I can never – and the lines become so blurry in being an on-the-field coach and off-the-field. Jeff Collins technically could be on the field this year, but he was an analyst. So and you've got more analysts doing recruiting now. So the lines are real blurry on what exactly is and is not an on-the-field coach. But he was the assistant offensive line coach this past season at TCU. He has also, prior to that, been the offensive line coach at North Carolina. He's been at Houston, Baylor, Florida State, and Mississippi in his coaching career. Again, from 2010 to 2020, he was the offensive line coach for 9 offenses that ranked in the top 13th nationally, which included 3 straight at Baylor with Briles, with Elder Briles.
Yeah.
From 2013 to, I think that was Elder Briles, 2013 to 2015.
Yes.
And then in his first year with North Carolina, he had 3 offensive linemen earn all ACC honors on a team that averaged 192 yards rushing, which ranked 19th nationally.
And he and Briles have been a lot of places together. Obviously, Baylor, when Briles took over as the play caller back in 2015, they were at Houston together. He was the run game coordinator when he was at Houston with him. Spent the season together at Florida State. Disconnected for a couple years when he was at Ole Miss, North Texas, and North Carolina, but have linked back up at TCU. So these guys know each other really well. And in terms of an offensive line coach that's going to know what he needs talent-wise and skill-wise in this new offense that's coming in here, I can't think of a better guy to fill that role.
Now, what I will say, I'm interested to see this because I've had disagreements with people on this, and I don't know where you stand. I think there is talent on the offensive line. I won't budge from that stance. I think that the pieces are in place today for that offensive line, and you've got a few more guys coming in now, Zion Giles and Darius Gray. The pieces are there. There is zero reason, in my opinion, with the pieces there, that this shouldn't be at least a middle-of-the-pack offensive line. Right. A bare minimum. A bare minimum. I don't think this is like, well, he's got to flip the room. No offense to Justin Stepp, but when Justin Stepp left, I think we looked at that wide receiver room was like, ooh, yeah, you got to get some dudes in there. And Mike Furry went out, and he recruited Jaden. Well, he didn't land. I don't think he landed Jaden Sellers technically, but he got Malik Clark, and he got Brian Rowe, and he got all the freshmen that came in the last, and Jordan Gidron and so forth and so on, Donovan Murph. So anyway, he flipped the room. I don't think you have to flip the room of the offensive line. Now, we both might agree on this. You might have to find a center.
Probably.
Or coach up Boaz Stanley. I don't know, one of the two.
And you weren't here yesterday, but I had the cuts of Kendall Briles explaining his offensive philosophy. And one thing he talked about was the importance of having an athletic center that can help you run tempo, because a big part of tempo is being up and ready to go immediately. And you need a guy that can get up there, not only be on the ball, but assess things quickly, because you're snapping that ball, 15, 20 seconds apart sometimes. And you need to have a center that's going to be able to do that. Do you have that guy on this roster? We don't know. Again, athleticism is something that every coach is going to look at a lot differently. So that we already know they're going to go in the portal when it comes to offensive and defensive lines. So that's something specifically like, okay, how do you assess with the centers that you have, and do you need to go out there? Are there offensive line from TCU willing to transfer? And that's something else, too, when you bring in a new offensive coordinator is, okay, what can he bring from his prior place that may be willing to come with him to South Carolina?
That's a good question. Again, I don't think do you need to hit the portal? Look, number one, when you go to the portal now, it doesn't matter, if you think Josiah Thompson can bounce back and have a strong junior year because he was a former 5-star. I do, by the way. But if you've got a big-time left tackle out there that wants to come to South Carolina, you don't not take him because you're like, well, we already got Josiah Thompson. You take him. You take the best available to make the best 5 guys that you need for 2026.
Well, and let's talk about Josiah Thompson, because Lonnie Teasley, who is heading to Nebraska now, Nebraska likes hiring South Carolina assistants, or at least former ones, it seems like. Can Randy Clements get Josiah Thompson to play the way we think he should be playing? Can he get him back to being a respectable left tackle and not the guy that keeps getting put on his butt on every single play? Like, that's another big factor, too, because, again, the talent was there. The skill was there from coming out of high school. There was a reason why he was a 5-star and a solid freshman year, but he took a big step back this year. So and I would say the same thing about Briles with the North Souths. Can you undo what was done to him by, in his instance, Teasley, by Seller's instance, Mike Shula, to get them back to being the players we think they can be?
That's a great question. The other part with Teasley, one thing that seems to be universal with South Carolina fans on Lonnie Teasley, dude could recruit.
Yes, he could, which is a big reason why he's going to Nebraska.
Which, now you look at your offensive line room like, all right, who are y'all committed to? That dude or us?
Yeah.
You with us or with them? I'm just the way y'all know it, y'all are learning, we're all learning. The way college football works nowadays, we know what the offensive line looked like, right?
Sure.
We all know what it looked like. Nobody's trying to defend Lonnie Teasley, the football coach. I think about 98% of y'all out there will defend Lonnie Teasley, the football recruiter.
Sure.
And if you can recruit like that, it means you've built some relationships with those kids where those – go back and look. Kids loved Will Muschamp.
Sure.
Loved him. Didn't mean he won. They would have followed him to the end of the earth.
That is a good point. So, and that's the push and pull of the portal. Trying to retain, but also trying to bring in. So what do you lose? What do you bring in? It's going to be interesting next month when that thing opens.
803-404-6100. JW says, please stop saying the offensive line has, he says talked, but I know what you mean, JD. I got you, talent. So you're saying it was all coaching. Yeah. And he says, that is the problem. What part does the head coach play? It plays a part in that he could. That maybe we all believe that he should have made a move sooner, but unless Shane Beamer's down there in the trenches teaching him, he has no part of the offensive line coaching, and he shouldn't have any part of the line coaching because he's not the offensive line coach. Now, he is in charge of making sure the offensive line coach is doing his job, and if you look out there and go, the offensive line stinks, then fair enough, you should have already made that move. I'm not arguing with you on that. The offensive line is a talented offensive line that has been poorly coached. Yes, I'm saying that.
If it was one guy that came in here and didn't materialize, okay, that's on that guy. When it's multiple guys that come in here and don't materialize, okay, there's a functional problem within your system that's not working right.
803-404-6100. We'll stay on this, and we'll move to Stan Drayton, the running backs coach. What exactly does a running backs coach do? Just, hey, dude, run that way with the football. We'll talk.
Hey, score.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for over 30 years they have been the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And let me tell you something. They do an absolutely phenomenal job. We just came off of those rainy days. My goodness, what a run of rainy days. So if you discovered a leak in your roof, whether it's your home or your business, it's time to call Mid-State Roofing and see exactly why they have been the leader for over 30 years, because they provide, they install, they build, they provide, and they install a bonded system with a protective guarantee that keeps your operation, again, your home or your business, dry and running long into the future. 803-356-1919. Again, that number is 803-356-1919. They are there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can give them a phone call at 1 a.m., and you will speak with an on-call technician. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
Pop.
.35 on a Wednesday as we now, I guess officially you would say the word, is this officially how to say it now that the Board of Trustees meeting is set. We know that tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. they are ratifying contracts, plural with an S.
I drew the comparison. You've seen the Harry Potter movies, right? Or your kids
Some of them. I mean,
them.
I've seen enough.
You know that like when the kids in the Wizarding World turn 11, they get their Hogwarts acceptance letter in the mail.
Okay, yeah.
Like, hey, congratulations, you're going to Hogwarts. Like, that's what this is.
Okay.
We got the acceptance letter. You know, again, you got to put pen to paper and finalize the salary and all that kind of stuff, but it's happening.
Well,
it's happening.
no, I mean, they're approving the contract. The contracts are signed and everything. They now are going for approval for the final red
But,
stamp on there.
I mean, you've been doing this longer than I have. Do you know of any contracts that have gotten disapproved at this juncture?
I'd have to ask one of the guys that I've worked with. Do feel like there might have been an instance where one contract was for being too much.
Okay.
I could be wrong. That might have just been a myth or a rumor.
But I feel like, and again, Donati's the one working with these numbers. I feel like he's not going to go in there with something that he doesn't think is going to get approved.
I'm assuming there's kind of already been like, hey guys,
hey, here's what's happening.
This is the number.
Yeah, we all have to go into one room, and you guys have to give me the thumbs up to make this official.
And let's also be honest. You don't want to be like, no school wants their board of trust. I mean, we don't want to be like LSU with the governor weighing in.
Right.
You don't want outside forces interfering with your football program. That becomes a detriment. But we now know there's a board meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to ratify, again, contracts. And I do emphasize that portion, plural with an S, because, again, the expectation is that it will be Kendall Briles as offensive coordinator, Stan Drayton as running back coach, and Randy Clements as offensive line coach. Now, we just talked about Randy Clements and what he does. The next one would be Stan Drayton, who has been at Penn State the last 3 years. Now, I don't know. Coming up during recruiting, and I'd be honest with you, I'd love to sit down with Chris and Wes because they still go to the camps and they see things. Their assessment of what makes a good running backs coach, because I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like, by the time a running back gets to you in college, I mean, you can develop. I'm not saying that there's not a level of coaching, but, and I've talked to coaches about this, like, they used to be considered that this was the recruiting position.
Yeah.
Whomever was your running backs coach better be able to land some studs, and not just at running back, but all over
right.
Because your running back shows up and it's basically, hey, don't fumble. Run in the direction of our goal line.
Yeah.
And as you said, score touchdowns.
Essentially, yes.
And most running backs are like,
I got that.
I've been doing that for a while.
Been doing that since I was 5. I think I understand the premise here. But, yeah, and look, all these roles evolve over time. And one thing specifically, and this goes back to the conversations we were talking about with Markel Blackwell when, Matt Fuller scores the long touchdown against LSU and doesn't touch the ball for another 2 quarters. Like, okay, is he on the field at the right time? Because the position coaches handle the rotations during the game. Like, yes, the play caller is calling the play, but they are in charge of what personnel is on the field at what times. And there was, I guess, a belief that Markel Blackwell was not handling those things very well, at least this year. Maybe that goes back to the couple years as well. So that is a primary role of your play caller to make sure, your running backs coach to make sure you have the right combination or just the right single back on the field when needed.
So, the question will be is really more of what does South Carolina need to do for its running back room. I'll admit, missing on Carson Baker, although the way that kind of played out, you wonder, how committed is he to any university each and every year. Because to my knowledge, Texas A&M, he did not take a visit to, nor were they even on his list until somehow, basically the night before signing day.
I'm sure he just grew up a big Aggies fan.
Yeah, just wait. He was waiting on that Tuesday night before signing day.
We know what the deal is.
Yeah.
Which, hey, more power to him.
But with all that being said, like, what has to happen with this running back room now? Because, quite frankly, you look at it, and there's 3 guys coming back, 2 of which we've seen. We've seen more.
Are they coming back?
And that's a great question. That's it's a good point of how I worded that, and then how you questioned it. And by the way, yeah, somebody asked, is Briles the quarterback coach as well? Yes, he is. But let's assume they're coming back. I don't see any reason for them to leave. No offense to either of them. They haven't.
I mean, 2 of those guys came in via the portal, so they could leave too.
True. Yeah, the way Jarwan Howe came in, I always forget that he was a portal guy, but you're right about that from South Carolina State. But with that being said, what is the step for that running back room? And look, let's be clear about this. One of the steps is Stan Drayton has got to go out. Now, he's been around. Stan Drayton has coached for 32 years and coached, by the way, some really, really good running backs. This is a guy who comes in, at least as I read his bio, and you're like, wow, this is a big-time hire.
Yep.
Now, my question is going to be, when you've coached for 32 years, what is your fire to continue to work at that level, especially given how recruiting in college football and NIL, and as you just mentioned, keeping guys here? What is your fire now? Or, as a lot of rumors have come out about Marquel Blackwell, are you just kind of here collecting a paycheck and showing up at practice every day?
Time will tell. We'll have to see. But, I mean, legitimately, you're looking at getting at least two running backs in the portal this offseason. Again, that's assuming you hold on to what you have right now, and that could change. You could have Augusta, Fuller, all those guys could want to transfer. Then you're completely rebuilding your running back room. But that is a room that you have to go out and get some depth in, because you just don't have it as of right now. And I'm trying to see, because, again, when you come from Penn State, you're going to naturally ask the question of, okay, what's the deal with the guys that he was coaching at Penn State? Katron Allen.
Oh, they're good.
Is a senior. What's the other guy's name?
Singleton. I thought it was Nicholas Singleton.
That's right. So those guys have eligibility. They'd be interested in coming here. Again, you're just kind of, throwing stuff at the wall at this point in time. But how attractive is this running back room now that he's the coach to guys in the portal? We don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But he's going to have his work cut out for him immediately, rebuilding this room into what he needs it to be for next year.
I don't know. Mike, when you make these hires, and it's kind of, obviously with Lonnie Teasley, you would look and say, okay, well, who are guys on the and I'll go back to Lonnie Teasley for a second. You go back and go, well, who are the guys on his former roster that he might try and tamper with, and that's the word to use correctly.
Yeah.
But, and bring with him. But I think, to me, what you really do, like with Stan Drayton, I kind of don't look at Allen and Singleton. Now, what year is Singleton? Allen, it feels like Allen's been there for.
Yeah,
so I feel like he's definitely out of eligibility.
I think Allen's out of eligibility. What is Singleton's number?
And quite honestly, I thought Singleton was more of an NFL prospect than a hit the portal, but I could be wrong.
Probably. And again, I'm just like, that's the first thing that comes to the top of my mind. But, I mean, those guys probably have a good opportunity at the next level. He's played 4 years. So, yeah, he's probably out.
For Singleton as well?
For Singleton,
I feel like he's been there as well.
Again, not that they would want to come here, but you immediately think of that when you hire their position coach.
What I was going to say is, go back if you can. This requires you actually doing some homework and reading stuff and going down a rabbit hole. But who has he recruited in the past?
Yes.
That he's close with that might be hitting the portal.
Right.
That now he can say, like, hey, remember when I recruited you and you just happened to choose whatever school over Penn State? Well, guess what? I'm at a new school. We have that relationship. Come now. You get a second chance. I'm taking a different job. I need a dude now. You can be my guy.
Yes,
that's what you go and look at, in my opinion. Like, it's kind of like with Kendall Briles or with Randy Clements. I don't necessarily look at what was on their previous roster. I now look at, I try to go back and look, who are guys that you have recruited at some point that you had a relationship with.
Not that this is relevant, but he is credited for getting Cam Newton to Florida for 24/7.
Look, I mean, in terms of experience and in terms of a big name hire, this is technically one of the best hires that Shane Beamer has made. He was at he was in 2004 with Shane at Mississippi State. That's the connection there. He has been at Tennessee. He's been at Florida. You mentioned, again, so he's obviously with Urban Meyer. He has it in him. Mm-hmm. My question is, again, 32 years, it wears on you.
Yep.
I was watching yesterday. I didn't feel good. I was watching yesterday the Saturdays in the South documentary, and they were talking about Bear Bryant having a line on his face for every yard he had gained, for every third down stop. Just the aging of coaches.
Sure.
Stan Drayton's been around a while. We'll come back and finish up the hour, and a 44-year-old's back in the NFL. Will he survive? We'll ask that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 803-404-6100. You can always hit us up via the phone lines or the text line. Let's go through a couple of these real quick. Text always in says the center is Vince does. Thank you, Vince, for the text. The center is already on the roster. It's Ryan Brubaker. Browse is going to love him. Physical and super intelligent. Maybe, but remember, he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's been a problem for him.
He came back and played this year, and even Shane this year, when Brubaker got in there, was like, man, we're just like, him playing this year is good. I don't know what Brubaker's injury was, but they made it sound like it was career-threatening.
And look, you hope the majority of what you need is on the roster, where you don't have to go out there and get a mass fall, especially at offensive line, because we've seen that. Look at Colorado, who shops new offensive line in the portal every single year. You're really running a risk by bringing in 5 guys that have never worked together before and trying to make it work for a season. So if you can ideally have those guys here in the roster, that'd be great. Well, we don't know. We don't know what Kendall Briles and Randy Clement's talent evaluation is for what they want and what they really need, and if what you have here matches that or not. Only time's going to tell.
That's a great point on what it matches, because Beth from Lamar weighs in, and she asked, will this new type of offense need different talented players? And that's a good point. Again, in talking, and we can get JC on, and I can get all the recruiting people on that we want, and in talking with them, talking with the recruiting people over the years, still staying in touch with them and just asking questions, it sounds like South Carolina has athletic offensive linemen.
Right.
To get out and run and do the things to pull and to move that you need, but they've not been put in a system to be able to do that. And so we'll see if that is true or not, or, I can't, I'm not an offense. That's not where I can watch a game and break it down like everybody else. But I do think that's the interesting part. But I look at it, you should have some offensive tackles that you like there and you got to keep them. Let's be clear about that. You got to keep them. But in Thompson and Babalade and Case and Henry, you should have some guards that you feel comfortable with. Got to keep Marquis Anderson healthy, but Trevon Ball, you got Blake Franks is still as back there. Shed Surratt was playing tackle at the end of the year, but obviously is a guy I think they like on the interior. You're bringing in Darius Gray. We mentioned Zion Giles. I know there's a few other names that I'm leaving out as well. Again, can you improve Boaz Stanley? Can you get him to where you want? There's a lot. It's not a bodies issue, and somewhere along the line, I don't think it's a talent issue. Jatavius Shivers is a guy that's played plenty over the last 2 years, or played enough, I guess. It's up to Randy Clements to mix and match and find 5 that fit his system, that fit what Kendall Briles wants to do offensively.
And again, that's all. That's the evaluations being made over the next couple weeks of what you have, what you need. And again, we know they're going to go out there and get offensive linemen in the portal just from a pure number standpoint. That's something Beamer talked about a week ago before we even knew who these hires were going to be at that point in time on early signing day. So how do you assess it? What do you need? Again, are there guys from TCU that want to come over and follow them? They say, hey, we already know these guys can play in our system because they've been doing it for a couple of years. All those possibilities are on the table. It's just we will assess as it happens. If you lose guys to the portal, say, okay, well, here's what he brought to the table, and here's what you're losing, and you bring guys in, okay, here's what he did, and here's how he can help you out.
803-404-6100. Obviously, we'll talk more about this coming up in the next hour. Also, to start the next hour, we'll give praise to another in-state team who is, if you're not paying attention, making quite the run right now. But to the NFL for just a second, and I saw this come across yesterday. Phillip Rivers is back at 44 years of age. Tyler Head.
Grandfather Phillip Rivers. Second only grandfather to play in the NFL. You know who the other one was?
No, I feel like this actually is an uncharted stat. I'm just basing it on what I know.
Based on what I have read, maybe it's unofficial. Brett Favre, the only other active grandfather to play in the NFL.
Yeah, I got to admit, I know some stuff that we're not going to go start putting out. And I don't know stuff, so I can't say it to be true.
Sure.
But I just know the ages of how some things work.
You're probably not wrong, but based on what I was able to gather, he's only the second one.
I was watching Pardon the Interruption last night, and I can't remember which one of the guys, Kornheiser or Wilbon, and they were making a great joke, and it was like talking about guys, and they said Chuck Barkley had it best when Chuck Barkley says, you retire and your body's banged up and you're worn out, and you're just beat down from years of physical competition. And he said that Barkley went on to say, you stop playing, you lose weight, you eat a little bit healther. He goes, a lot of players eat a little bit healthier. They get healthier. You don't play for 3 or 4 years. Your body rests. All of a sudden, you feel good. And you've been an athlete your whole life, and you've been one of the top 1 or 2% of athletes in the world to play whatever professional sport. And you go, I could do this again.
Let's go.
And he goes, and Barkley said, and then you get out there the first time, he goes, the first time you get hit or something happens, you go, nope, I can't do this. And they were saying last night, Philip Rivers is going to learn a lesson here. Like, boy, you 44. You ain't even 34 anymore.
Have the walker on standby.
Yeah, well, and they went on to say, like, I hope he learns quickly because, yeah, you feel great now. Wait until they play Seattle this weekend. Wait till one of those Seattle edge rushers gets you. Hour or two on the way. Hour number 2, and we kind of kept telling y'all leading towards the end of the season, boy, there was going to be a lot to talk about once we got to the postseason. It was kind of a matter. That's why it got so strange there at the end. It's been a long time since I've experienced anything like that, Tyler, where we're just waiting for the Clemson game to end, and because you knew there was no bowl eligibility on the line for South Carolina, like this year, it was kind of like, all right, let's play the game, and if we win, we'll brag it that we beat Clemson. And if they beat us, cool, we'll take it for 364 days.
Yep.
But can we just, see where we're going now with our future? Can we see who the offensive coordinator is going to be? Can we see what the offensive line coach is going to be? Can we see who's going to stay and who's going to go? Can we make these decisions? And so now, even now, and as we move through this week and through the rest of this week, it's been all like the information people really wanted since the what was the 7th loss? What was the game before Coastal? Was that A&M?
Yes.
Is that A&M? Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Because you had made the Shula move after the Ole Miss game going into the second bye week. And I mean, really, once you lost the A&M game and you knew that you weren't going to be playing for a bowl, that was like, all right, let's wrap this up. Now, again, we were kind of looking at like, okay, well, maybe Furry can show you some stuff that can lead you to believe he could be the offense coordinator. And we had optimism going into the Clemson game that quickly got squashed with how that game played out. So, it is a weird instance to be kind of going through the last couple weeks of the regular season. Like, all right, let's get this over with because we got things to figure out for next year immediately.
Yeah, it was. But we're starting to all get the answers. And again, we will wrap up this whole coaching staff stuff really tomorrow. By the time we come on air tomorrow, it'll be official. It'll be officially official. The board will have signed off on the contracts, and we'll all be sitting here and going, okay, thank goodness. That's finally on. That's finally done. We're good. And we move past that. But then raises the question, so we officially have put Lenora Sellers on the clock for starting Saturday. And, and I will say this also, despite what some of you may think, and again, I said this to multiple people. I don't know if I said it on air, but I said it to multiple people that kind of asked me, like, hey, this is going south. What's wrong? I was like, they want to get all 3 hires. They don't want to, piecemeal this. And that's exactly how this played out. Kendall Briles was done, despite what anybody wants to report or say, Kendall Briles was done over the weekend. And it really was done, I believe, maybe last Friday. And done is by they were in a, there was like, you're gonna take the job? Yeah, I'm gonna take the job. Okay, we're good. We'll figure it out over the weekend.
If it was just him, I mean, what the trustees meeting probably would have been done a day or two ago, and we probably would.
I didn't think you had the board of trustees no later than yet. Today's Wednesday, right?
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah.
So at the latest, we would have probably been hearing from him right now, right? Being introduced by Beamer and all that kind of stuff. But it's finalizing the other parts to make this a whole, just one thing, one meeting, one introduction, all that kind of stuff. That's what kicked this down the road a little bit further.
Well, and then the way I am being led to believe this, the way I kind of understand it, and there's sources and there's whatever, and we all do this, and the only person who really knows is Shane Beamer, and this is not who I've been talking to, but is that he wanted his offensive coordinator done.
Yes.
Then when he got his offensive coordinator done, he had a list of running back coaches and offensive line coaches that he wanted, and then he wanted to compare that with what his offensive coordinator wanted, and they wanted it, and it was like, well, who do you want? Okay, I make the final decision.
Sure.
And let's work together on this as a team.
That is like, the example of you don't want to hire a head coach without a GM. Like in professional sports, the GM's usually the one that helps hire the head coach. So you don't want to hire the head coach and then hire the GM type thing. So you want to have the offensive coordinator before you have the assistants in place, because if you hire Kendall Briles and, you had Stan Drayton as your thought of running back coach, I don't like the guy. I don't want to work with him.
Right.
Or I have this guy that I've worked with before that I think is a better option. Okay, then you may pivot and go do that. But having the offensive coordinators as opposed to handing him a staff, which again, he's inheriting Furry, he's inheriting Elliott and all those kind of guys, which he understands. But, if you're also bringing in new guys you've hired before him, he's like, well, I wouldn't have done that. I would have gone with this guy or this guy. So, yes, you have to hire the offensive coordinator, and then the other guys fall in line very quickly after that. Because, again, we're talking with him 24 hours of the Briles stuff basically being all but done. Then you learn that they're finishing up the deals with Clemens and Drayton.
Yeah, and it, just an example of what I'm talking about. There was obviously a lot of rumors around Jimmy Smith being the running backs coach, who was been with Kendall Briles at Arkansas and then with TCU,
Yep.
and that might have been like, hey, I know you'd kind of want Jimmy, but I like Stan. I know Stan. Are you able to work with Stan? Okay, do you want to go meet with Stan too with me?
Sure.
How does that work? And Kendall Briles goes, okay, I can make that work. And then you look to the offensive line coach. So you get what I'm saying. And
Sure.
so now we know, though, that tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., the Board of Trustees will ratify athletic contracts as it has been put out. And again, as I have tried to emphasize, as I saw John Whittle do, and he made a good point on that, contracts with an S, meaning plural.
Yep.
So we'll get all three of that, and we'll be done with that. And then I'll ask you again, do you meet with Lenore Sellers this week? Because I guess this is the downside. And I'll be interested to see where we go. This is a whole other conversation for a whole other time. Because in my discussions recently, this has really been interesting to have, discussions with college football coaches. The value of the bowl game practices.
Mm-hmm.
Because I haven't just talked to some South Carolina coaches. I've talked to some people who were at South Carolina who I knew who have now moved on to other jobs. And there's becoming more and more of a sentiment that the players don't want to do the bowl practices. The coaches would rather be doing the way the schedule's moved. These things are no longer relevant quite like they used to be.
I do feel like in an instance like this, so like let's go back to when Dow Loggins was hired 3 years ago when they were preparing for the Gator Bowl. And again, you don't get hired and immediately become the offensive coordinator, but you still got to go to practice and observe. And that's where he's talked about kind of pointing out Xavier Legette, saying, hey, who's 17? Y'all don't get him the ball a whole lot? Let's change that. Like, it's an opportunity for evaluation with these guys because, again, they're not going to have organized, legitimate practices again until the springtime, right? So it's an opportunity for these new hires to come in and get a good look and lay of the land for what they're going to be coaching and the talent that they have before the portal would open up. So I think in an instance where you're hiring so many new assistants, there would be a whole lot of value in that this year that unfortunately you don't have.
So anyway, the point that was made to me that was interesting was like, hey, these kids, they've grinded, and the kids understand the value of a ball game.
Sure.
And that value is zero.
Oh, minus the swag bag.
Yeah, well, but that's it. Yeah, like, all right, what's in the swag? What are we getting?
All right,
all right, yeah, okay.
Well, I guess now is this like I could buy that.
Well, yeah. For a lot, not for all sure. 85, but for a lot of the guys, they're like,
right, I can get a quarter Under Armour quarter zip with the bowl logo on it and a nice watch. I can get those.
Well, it's like one of the coaches mentioned to me last year. Way back when, kids used to be like, "Oh, a trip to Disney,
sure,
for the holiday, that's cool." And now there's a lot of kids who are like, "Man, I got to leave my family and we got to actually practice and do stuff for a game that kids don't see it the same way we as fans used to look at it."
Right.
I say kids, players. Well, I don't. Maybe I shouldn't call them kids.
And I do think the destination plays a big role in that because yes, it's more enticing. Let's just use for example, Georgia Tech and BYU, you're going to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's in Orlando.
Yeah.
They'll get to go down to Orlando, go to Disney, do some fun stuff down there. Clemson and Penn State are going to go to the Bronx and play in Yankee Stadium, which great historic venue. It's also going to be miserably cold. So, I don't know if you can compare the fun of those two bowls.
Yeah, the 18 to 22-year-olds view going to the Bronx or going to New York, because I know a lot of families go up to New York for Christmas and they see the tree and they do all the fun stuff and see a show or something. Yeah, the 18 to 22-year-olds view it the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And
you're looking at it's cold here, but I spent yesterday watching a lot of Weather Channel, and if they've looked at that, they're like, man, I'm done. I'm good.
And I think we brought this up the other day with Jamie. I think you look at the model that the Players Area Championship's doing in basketball.
That's what it's
and saying, all right, well, instead of a swag bag, how about we take this money we're getting from Kellogg's in the Pop-Tarts Bowl? We have a pot of $2 million. winning team gets 1.5 to divvy up between their roster. Losing team gets 500,000. So
I'm with you.
You are playing for something at that point in time. If you want to opt out, that's fine. You're not going to get a share of whatever the winnings are. So that to me seems like the next logical step to make people care about bowl games again.
And I will also say that what I do think that does is not every bowl game can do that. You'll have an elimination of some bowl games, which I good.
Probably
Consolidating, so going from whatever it is now, 42 bowls or
it's 42
to going to like 28 or going to a bowl. And that actually, if you wanted to have a discussion like next week about this, if you eliminate and go down to like 25 bowls, because let's just say you go to 25, because now you're talking about 50 teams post playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because you go to all of a sudden it means something a little bit more to go to a bowl game. Now, will that happen? No. Why? Because ESPN needs content.
If that were the case, because again, you got 136 teams in the FBS, you would have to be in the top half of FBS to qualify for a bowl. Where now, again, 42 bowls, that's 84 teams. Just in the bowls alone, in addition to the 12 teams that are going to be playing in the college ball playoff. So you're talking 94 teams out of 136 that have, which again makes it even worse when you miss a bowl, that have a postseason opportunity.
I do like that if you barely miss a bowl at 5 and 7, you're like, man, you're like that. We go 4 and 8, you're like, all right, it doesn't even matter. Like we were bad. Like,
to the point where the other day when Notre Dame and Iowa State and Kansas State were turning down bowl bids, people were like, hey, wait a minute. Carolina, it's going to have to go way down that list before they get to South Carolina.
I think it was Rutgers was 5 and 7, and you're like, all right, I kind of, 4 and 8. You're like, good job. Yeah. You successfully missed the bowl season.
How would you feel if they're like, yeah, we'll go to the Birmingham Bowl at 4 and 8? Like,
look,
again, there's the benefit of the practices, but I don't know how many people are ponying up the dough to go hang out in Birmingham, before Christmas.
We can put that on the list like next week, and we'll come back to that because I'd be interested in y'all's opinion. But I do think, and like I said, it won't happen because of ESPN loves the content. I mean, like, obviously right now, content is a little shady. Now, by the way, we're not going to mention much of it, and there's two ways to look at it. Troy has hit us up on our live stream and mentioned it, but, Clemson BYU last night was a phenomenal basketball game. But, boy, Clemson, did you blow that game. Like, oh, goodness.
It was 21-point lead, 22-point lead.
I want to say it maxed at 22.
Yeah. It was the largest second-half comeback, I think, in BYU history.
Yeah. How about that? BYU just missed out on the playoff, and they got a top 10 basketball team now. Welcome to a real conference in money.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a great game. But, ESPN's searching for content, so they aren't about to eliminate 17 bowl games.
No, probably
and go down
not.
to 25.
Probably not. Now, again, at the point of, like, can the, Myrtle Beach Bowl offer a $1 million payday? Probably not. They could.
Well, but if you eliminate, if you go down to 25.
But if they don't, is what I'm saying. Like, if all these bowls continue to exist, I don't know if all of them can offer, like the Citrus Bowl, sure. These big, high-end, major bowl games.
I really want to come back to that, actually. I want to kind of stay on this because I actually now, as we outwardly talk about it, I got an idea.
Okay. Bill's got an idea.
I got not the direction. I want to come back and get into this for a second. I do want to get the Lenora Sellers stuff. We got to give a shout out to Newberry College. I want to do that. There's a lot to get to. Apparently, they only give us 3 hours every day. I should know this by now, but I don't. We will come back and we'll discuss. I want to get into this a little bit more of this bowl thing and just see what you all think. You, the listener, will have a little bit of a discussion on that. Just making bowls great again. No, we're not going political around here. We're just trying to make bowls great again. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
It's all right here for our friends over at Tilly's Warehouse, first wine and spirit store in 5 Points in the past 20 years. We're just 2 weeks away from Christmas. So if there's somebody in your life that would appreciate a nice bottle of tequila or perhaps a nice bottle of wine, well, guess what? Tilly's Warehouse has got you covered. Locally family owned and operated, located behind the Salty Nut Cafe on Green Street in the old Pavlov's building in 5 Points. Tilly's has everything that you need for maybe somebody's gift or maybe just for yourself. If you want to give yourself a nice little holiday present ahead of Christmas, things like G4 Tequila. I mentioned wine, which, by the way, if you mentioned that you heard this ad on 107.5, you can get 10% off any wine selection over there at Tilly's as well. You can stay connected with them on Instagram and Facebook or visit their website at tillyswarehouse.com for more information. Discover why Tilly's is your new must-visit spot over in 5 Points.
$120 in about 10 seconds, 8 seconds. That's 119, but it'll be 120 here in about 5 seconds. On your Wednesday, December the 10th, Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Dare. Real quick, I'm going to take a left on us.
Okay.
I'm going to take a left on us because we brought it up, and I want to go into this bowl conversation for a second. I want to hear what y'all got to say. 803-404-6100. Our buddy Steven has texted me personally. He wants to weigh in. But I want to hear what everybody thinks about this bowl idea, and then we'll circle back to, I want to get to the Lenore Sellers article from CBS Sports and some other topics today. Also, we have Cole Messina, by the way, coming up in 10 minutes.
That's right.
Cole Messina is going to update us on Braylon Wimmer and his situation. So Cole Messina coming up in about 10 minutes as well. So we got a lot that we're doing today. But let's give a shout out real quick. Newberry College, 12-1 in the college football Division II football championship. We got some football going on besides the Pinstripe Bowl in this state and wherever Coastal is going that I now blank on. They will be at Ferris State University in Big Rapids, Michigan.
Former home of Trinidad Chambliss. National powerhouse, Ferris State.
Good call.
Yep.
They have Newberry has won the last two against West Florida and Albany State, each by 7 points, and they've gone on the road.
That crazy touchdown, I think it was against Albany State in the first round.
No, that was Kentucky State.
Was it Kentucky State?
Okay. Kentucky State in the first round.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, shout out. Hey, again, at least there's some teams in this state that are doing things.
That's right. So congratulations to Newberry on getting to take on Ferris State this coming weekend. Obviously a big game there. I don't think is that the championship game?
No, their championships are later in
How many rounds do they
December.
have? Do you know?
Let me
That's
see.
what I was going to say. It's round 4.
I know.
I didn't think
Yeah, let's see. D2.
I'm like you. I didn't think it was the championship game, but now I think it is the championship game. I
don't think it's the championship game. Hold on. Let me check. Because their championships are usually later on in the year.
That brings up a whole other conversation of how many rounds is too many rounds.
Yeah.
No, they're in the Final Four.
Okay.
Ferris State and Newberry. And that game will be, by the way, for those of you that want to check it out on Saturday at noon, ESPN Plus. And then it's Kutztown and Harding.
Sure.
Kutztown and Harding. And then the national championship game will be, give me a date here, December 20th, the following Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
In McKinney, Texas.
Yes. So, hey, shout out to them.
Yeah.
Again, somebody in the state's got to win.
Good job. Go Wolves. There we go. All right. 803-404-6100 is how you can.
SC State playing the Celebration Bowl
this Saturday
weekend
as well. Was it the Cricket?
The Cricket Celebration Bowl against Prairie View.
Awesome. Yeah, bowl game this Saturday. Washington and Boise State.
The Bucked Up LA Bowl.
Yeah, Bucked Up LA Bowl.
It's because, and I know why, because typically bowl season would start the week after Army-Navy, because it's Army-Navy. You have the Heisman Trophy ceremony that night, and the week after that is bowls. But now that's the opening weekend of the college ball playoffs. So, all right, well, while you're watching the Heisman Trophy ceremony, Boise State and Washington are going to be playing a bowl game in SoFi Stadium.
You know what? I'll have it. Look, I'm not down. All right, let's switch our conversation here. Bowl games. I'm not like anti-bowl games, and I will have bowl games on in the background. Now, I will admit, in years prior, even up to last year, I normally would look at a bowl and be like, all right, I'm going to make sure on Wednesday night at 7:30 or whatever, I'm going to watch that game. That sounds entertaining and fun. Yeah. I'm going to watch that game. And even with opt-outs and even with all that's going on, Tyler,
yeah,
I've kind of stayed a bowl game kind of person.
So, some bowl games are appointment viewing, where like you say, okay, on December 30th at 7:00, I want to make sure I'm watching that game. And other ones like, all right, I'll have it on, and like if it's tied with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, okay, I'm going to lock in. Yeah. Let's see what happens. But it's like, all right, well, it's 28-3, and there's 5 minutes left. Okay, I can kind of check out on this one now. But yeah, you have certain ones you kind of circle in and hope they're all good, right?
Right.
But you know, the balance is some are going to be good, some aren't.
Yeah, I've got 2 TVs set up in the bedroom because of what I'm going through right now, and one's the bigger TV, that's the 55-inch. One's the smaller one, that's about 43-inch. So like last night on one TV I had BYU Clemson basketball, and the other one I had Man vs. Food.
Okay.
The new Man I guess the new. I don't know.
Oh, they have a new one.
I don't think it's new. It was a redheaded guy. I can't even remember his name.
Adam Richmond's.
Yeah,
the real Man vs. Food.
Yeah, it was. I like this guy. He was kind of funny last night. And anyway, but my point is that'll be kind of how I view bowl season. Like one TV might have Christmas Vacation on it. I'm actually watching Christmas Vacation. The other one might have the bowl game where I glance up. Oh, okay.
Sure.
I do still think bowl games matter. And I'll give you an example of that for teams. Look, South Carolina doesn't have many 10-win seasons.
Right.
Winning that game last year
Would have been huge.
would have been huge.
Same thing for Illinois, too.
Right.
They don't have a rich history of double-digit win seasons. Both teams really cared about that game.
Now, did the play? South Carolina didn't have any opt-outs. I mean, they did, obviously. And we have the notorious.
Had half of one.
Yeah, we've got the Nicky Memori situation. You had Rocket Sanders. I want to say there was one or two others that I'm blanking on, but
Did Kennard play in that game?
did not. That was another one.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I do still think bowls can have meaning to them. I don't know about the players' view of that. For example, but let me go back to an idea that as we were talking that popped into my brain, and I want to see what y'all think about it. 803-404-6100. You got a lot of these bowl games. And financially, not every bowl game, I believe, could do this. I'm just looking at some of them. The game above Sports Bowl, Ford Field, Central Michigan, Northwestern.
The former Little Caesars Pizza Bowl.
Yeah. The Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans.
That used to be the Cherry Bundy Tart Boca Raton Bowl. I love bowl sponsors, by the way. You'll learn that about me.
Put that on the list of things to do next week. That is what you've done so far is absolutely phenomenal. No offense to the great people in Myrtle Beach, but I don't know the financial situation. The Myrtle Beach Bowl presented by Engine. I don't know what it was initially.
It's always been the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
We finally got a sponsor by Engine. The Staff DNA Cure Bowl.
Formerly the AutoNation Cure Bowl.
Preston singing and you doing that's the two most impressive things I've ever seen in my 9 years on this station that I've just never. Anyway, my point is not. I don't know if every bowl game can come up with, as you said, $2 million.
Yeah.
Here's what I think changes the course of this. And as I said, I'm very realistic on this. ESPN's not giving up. ESPN doesn't cover every game. ABC and ESPN. That bowl game, as you mentioned, bucked up LA Bowl is 8 o'clock Saturday night, ABC.
Yes.
That actually will follow, I guess, the Heisman. Heisman's at 7, correct?
Well, the Heisman will be on ESPN.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But you'll technically watch the Heisman and then flip over to ABC.
Yeah, like Fox has one bowl, and then CBS has the Sun Bowl. I think those are the only non-ES. Like, so ESPN basically has 40 of 42 bowl games, essentially.
Okay, so I'm very cognizant of the fact that ESPN is not giving up content on this. That is a big deal, and that's also now why we all know Notre Dame now will never participate in a bowl game again. One's on the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl on the CW network.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Let's say 20 or 25. I don't know. Draw the number in your head. Bowl games offer a NIL incentive to players.
Okay.
Like we said, there's a $2 million purse. 1.2, you can, whatever number you want to use in your head goes to the winner. 75% to the winner, 60%, whatever. That makes those bowl games, because I got to admit, if you tell, now I don't know, Rocket Sanders, Kyle Kennard last year, hey, you're splitting $1.5 million amongst 85 players. What is that? Let's do quick math. Anybody able to do that right off the top of your head with no problems whatsoever? I somehow just went to 15 million. 1.5 divided by 85. That's a paycheck roughly of $17,600 for winning the game.
Yes. And yeah, some guys that may not
Kyle Kennard,
be enough.
They might look at it and be like, yeah,
Sure.
I'm getting a signing bonus. It's not worth $17,000 to go
Sure,
play
and
for that.
you know what? That's your choice. That's fair. And the fact that you don't play, maybe that increases the pot for everybody else. So
No,
all right.
that's right. Yeah, no.
Now we're splitting it between 80 guys. Or
That's right.
something
Nobody
like
else
that.
is going on scholarship, so there might be
Exactly.
guys like, oh, you're thinking about opt out? You really should opt out. I don't think you should play. First rounders are opt out still.
Sure.
I think that makes 20 or 25 bowl games more relevant to us and keeps guys playing in the game.
And if you, again, like let's say this.
And then real quick to finish, and then we got to hit the break, and we got to get to Cole Messina.
Yeah.
But then, by the way, you get your other bowl games, and maybe those are the completely irrelevant ones that people are turning down.
And maybe some bowl, it's tiered, right? Like the Citrus Bowl may have $5 million
Good point.
to give, and the Music City Bowl may have 2. Like again, depending on what bowl game you're going to, you get more, an opportunity to earn more. Like that kind of seems to be the future for me.
I like that plan. I think it make bowls great again. Besides just winning 10 games, and that's why I thought South Carolina's bowl game last year was important. To win 10 games for the status of the program and to build upon it. Obviously, it meant nothing for 2025. But anyway, 803-404-6100. Weigh in on that thought. Cole Messina updates us on Braylon Wimmer's situation. If you don't know about Braylon Wimmer, we'll tell you more up next. It's the Halftime Show. 1:35 on a Wednesday. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, and Captain Dave Adair. And joining us now, Gamecock. I've learned my lesson. Y'all have yelled enough, and Tyler, I've done this for 10 years. He's never a former Gamecock. Once he's a Gamecock, he's always a Gamecock. Cole, I've learned, don't ever call you a former Gamecock, right? You, no matter what, whatever you do the rest of your life, you played for the Garnet and Black. You bled, you sweat. Maybe there was some tears somewhere along the way. You're a Gamecock.
It was the other people crying.
Yes,
not Cole.
That's right. Oh yeah.
I don't know. You're a catcher. How long in your life were you a catcher? Like, were you 6, and someone looked at you and they're like, yeah, he's a I can already tell now. He's jumping off the roof of the house. He's going to be a catcher. Put him at catcher.
That's right. I've always been the biggest, and maybe it's not a good thing, but I've always been the biggest kid on the team. So I was like, hey, you're going to be the catcher. So
it's like if I'm running towards home plate, he's the last guy that I want to see with the ball in his hand. I'm not getting around that or sliding under that.
Fastest pitcher, go back, and it might have been Little League because I know the mounds are different. So if it's Little League and it's a buddy, give him a shout out or something. But fastest pitcher you've ever had to catch in your life so far?
It was actually this past season. It's a guy named Hunter Mann. He's with us from the Rockies organization. He hit 99.6 throughout the year. I think it was in August, so it was pretty cool. I didn't realize how fast it was, so I got in the dugout and everyone was freaking out.
What is that like as a catch? Like you say, you don't even notice it. Do you not? Is it not something that as you're doing it, or have you been like, oh my, you ever like been sitting there and like oh my goodness, this guy's like humming it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was quick. I knew it was pretty fast, but I didn't know it was close to 100. So.
Cole Messina joining us, 99.6, fastest Carolina pitcher you ever caught in your years here?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Probably Mahoney, because he would run it up to 97, 98,
really?
And yeah, like whenever, like early on, like in the spring, he would, and that's got to be it. Because I mean, we didn't have any like crazy like hundreds or 98s. Like it was 96, 97, somewhere around there.
Do you think I'll ask you a quick baseball question with your knowledge of what you saw in the SEC this year? Paul Mainieri kept kind of emphasizing that all of a sudden South Carolina didn't have heavy arms, big arms. And I think Tennessee had 3 guys this year that were going over 100. Is that right?
That sounds right.
3 guys, I think. I think they're Cole, like 3 guys on Tennessee that were just humming it. Do you think in SEC play, from what you've seen, your pitchers, you need to have? Do you need better quality stuff, but it's slower, or do you need some of the heavy, big arms that are out there to compete now from what you've seen in the SEC?
Honestly, I think you need to have a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it comes down to probably your starters need to be able to put it where they want and have that pitchability, and then your back end relievers need to have that powering stuff just to kind of close the game down, make it pretty hard to score runs.
Swagger, we'll hit you up for more SEC talk as we get a little bit closer. When do you have an official report date for yourself just yet?
Yes, sir. I'm headed to Headed to Arizona February 15th.
Okay, so about 2 months away from that. When will you? I know you trained in the off season. When do you really go? Okay, it's baseball it's baseball season. I got to start really kicking training into high gear.
Kind of bits and pieces now,
okay.
Especially with the hitting side, but it'll really ramp up in January. I'll start throwing a little bit further. Probably start running a little bit. So probably January 1.
Get the holiday weight off, whatever mom's fixed.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's get the reason we got you on this afternoon, and we'll get you back on right before you go in February to talk about you and about what you think for the upcoming season and just your thoughts on SEC play in general. But your good buddy, I talked to Greg Sweat, Wesley Sweat's uncle, and he tells me about you and Wesley and everything, and I know y'all's really good buddy, Braylon Wimber. Retell everybody kind of what happened and what's going on but where things are at now.
So, yeah, I think it was November 1st, honestly. He was in the Arizona Fall League playing a baseball game, and he was headed to the field actually on the bus and had like a mini seizure and rushed him to the hospital. Nobody really knew what was going on. He was freaking out. They found a tumor behind his right ear, and so he ended up going home. They performed on it a couple weeks later, so probably middle of November, like November 15th area. I think it was November 19th was the exact date, but, had the procedure. Got everything out from what I know, from what I've heard. He struggled there for about a week and a half. It was pretty tough on him, was struggling to eat, had some post problems, I guess, had a seizure or two, had to go back to the ER, but, he lost his speech there for a little bit, but he's almost back to 100%. I think we talk pretty much every day. He's back hitting. He's back taking ground balls. He's doing some workouts. So, I'm just, it's a blessing. It could have been a lot worse. Could have really derailed his baseball career. But I mean, he's already back hitting, back looking like Wim. So, God's good. God's good all the time. So
we talk about how tough all you guys are. Reading his update, he was awake while this was happening too, correct?
Yes, sir. That's right. He was awake for the whole brain surgery.
Have you had a chance? I mean, obviously you're giving us an update, so I assume so. Have you had a chance to really talk to him and how his spirits? That's crazy that if you're saying he's already back. I mean, when did you say exactly the surgery was?
I think November 19th, if I'm not mistaken.
So less than a month ago. And you're saying he's already back doing some hitting and taking some ground balls for this upcoming season?
Yes, sir. That's right. He's actually hitting, I think, every other day right now and taking ground balls when he hits. So he's a strong dude. It's been a cool journey to watch.
He has now prevented any of his teammates from ever complaining about anything going forward.
That's right. I can't complain to him that my legs hurt anymore.
Exactly. Like, dude, I was awake during brain surgery. You kidding me?
That's right.
What is for him, from what you know? Again, let me ask you: how much have you had a chance to talk to him to kind of keep up with him, just kind of how his spirits are?
I mean, we talk on the phone, or we actually play video games together. But we talk a good bit, like probably once a day, twice a day. And, he's just back to normal. Like, I don't think he's not the guy that kind of dwells on things. Like, everyone knows it happens. It happened, sorry. And I think that he realizes, that it happened, and he's just pushing forward. Like, his spirits are fine. Isn't, doubting himself, isn't down on himself because, he had brain surgery. He's just back to normal Wim, which is awesome to see.
I'm assuming y'all will be together in Arizona. But for those that don't know, you and him are both in the Rockies organization. I'm assuming that's how it works, that y'all report together?
Yes, sir, we will. We're actually going to live together as well, me, him, and Jack Mahoney.
Oh. Do you find out, that's just for training, right? Like, y'all don't know your assignments for the upcoming year. Do you have an estimate of where he's going and where you're going?
I think he might start in AAA, honestly, just because he's killed it in the fall league. I mean, at the worst, I say. I mean, that's not a bad thing. He'll start in AA, but we shall see. And hopefully, that me and Jack are with him there too, so all three of us can be together.
Is that what your, I guess, for those of us that don't know, real quick, is that how it works? They'll tell you your assignment at the very end of spring training. You go and you have a great one. They move you up.
Yes, sir. They'll tell us about a week before. They'll let us know.
Well, Cole, we appreciate it. We'll put this out on our podcast so that others can hear the update on Braylon. That's great news. And, buddy, I hope you have a great, great Christmas, and we'll definitely get you back on in January. We'll talk some more SEC baseball and kind of go back a little bit. We've had to have serious conversations with you, but we'll relive some of your moments in SEC play and get your thoughts on what South Carolina has to do to be successful in 2026.
Sounds good. Yes, sir. Y'all have a good holidays.
You too.
Thanks, Cole.
Merry Christmas to you. 803-404-6100 will come back and wrap things up for hour number 2. It's the Halftime Show. 149. Thank you to Cole Messina for joining us. Great, Nick. That's crazy that Braylon Wimmer, I mean, you know, God is good, as Cole put it. And that's crazy that Braylon Wimmer is back, and awesome to hear. Maybe we can get him on in the near future. Certainly didn't want to bother him. I didn't know he was. I had no clue he was doing that great.
Sure.
That he was back. That was left out of conversations that he's back doing some hitting and taking ground balls.
I know leading up to the surgery, they talked about him wanting to be back for spring training, but yeah, quite literally days after having brain surgery, he's already back there, doing stuff. That is that's pretty insane. So shout out to him, and appreciate the update there from Cole.
Yeah, that's we can talk about offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators, and but what Braylon Wimmer dealt with is real world actually important stuff, and great news on him there. I know we'll get that up on the podcast page if you're just now tuning in, but some really good news there as pertains to the health and recovery of Gamecock Braylon Wimmer. Also, great news. I would assume the Rockies would be like, let's start you in Double-A. Make sure you're 100% and then move you to now Cole's not their management team.
Sure.
But we'll definitely get Cole back on. I did think that was interesting what he was talking about there as it pertains to SEC play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I'm excited to get some insight from him as we kind of turn the calendar and start looking ahead to baseball coming up in February. And it sounds like a broken record talking about make or break seasons for coaches here, but yeah, Paul needs to get things to take a few steps forward from last year.
I think we're all under the assumption right now that the three men's sports, and we're in the middle of one, are make or break seasons.
Yeah,
I think we're in that assumption that we're in the middle of one right now, that this is the start of this, that we are now starting the Jeremiah Donati era now.
Is it fair to say next week's Clemson game for the men is truly going to dictate our mood going into SEC play? Because you've already lost the other three games to your quality opponents.
No.
And if you can't, you don't think so?
The two really bad years that Lamont's had, he's beat Clemson.
That is true.
The one great year he's had, he lost.
So I guess it's maybe kind of the reverse effect. So if you beat Clemson, it's like, oh no, here we go again. And if you lose, it's like, okay, great.
You might actually don't get run out of the gym. Remember the game they lost? They should have won 2 years ago up there. They were in complete control of that game.
That was the anomaly last year as the season wore on. And you're like, how did they beat this team?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they beat because they lost to North Florida last year. And following basketball, I'm like, okay, it happens. Now you got to do some recovery. But then they beat Clemson, and I'm like, okay, all right, that's a step in the right direction. And then then it all came completely unglued, and it was completely irrelevant. But no, I won't put any stock in it. Look, they should finish 9-4 in non-conference. 10-3 would be great. But even if they beat Clemson, I'm going to be kind of like, what are you going to do? Although SEC, all of a sudden, not quite as dominant about the last 2 weeks as I kind of thought. I'm not saying the SEC is not good. I'm not saying South Carolina's not 16th in the league. I'm also saying the SEC is taking we knew they were going to take a step back.
Sure.
It's maybe a little bit more than I anticipated right now.
It's still early. I think the real litmus test is March, obviously, but following up on last year is hard to do with how great this conference was. So yeah, to hit those levels of expectations is difficult, and we'll see what happens in the next 3 to 4 months.
I mean, just looking right now, the SEC does not have a single team in the top 10. Alabama's the highest at 12, and Alabama, part of the State of Alabama versus Arizona tour, last weekend it was Auburn. Alabama takes on Arizona this coming Saturday, I believe. I think that game's later in the evening, and that is something I'll be locked in on. But there's only 2 teams in the top 15. Vanderbilt's 9-0, and Alabama's at number 12.
Mark Pope's getting booed out of his own building. It's intense times.
Mark Pope's staring longingly at BYU right now, like, ooh. You guys look fun.
You guys are a lot nicer.
For those wondering, just out of I know a lot of y'all don't pay attention to college basketball until January. Arkansas is at 17. Florida lost last night to Connecticut. Florida's at 18. Tennessee is at 20. Auburn's at 21. And then that's it for the SEC at this point in time. And I would assume Florida, even though their losses are legitimate losses, are going to fall out of the top 25 at the end of this week. So again, you look at what the conference is doing. It's
No teams in the top 10 in Ken Palm right now either.
really
So Alabama's the highest ranked, or excuse me, Vanderbilt's number 8. Sorry, Vanderbilt's the only top 10 team in Ken Palm in the SEC.
And again, Vanderbilt's undefeated at 9-0 right now in the season. So there's a little basketball update for you as well. South Carolina, of course, not playing again until next. They play again Saturday against the Citadel at 7:00, and then next Tuesday night up at Little John Coliseum against Clemson and the Tigers. We'll come back. Hour 3 on the way. We got a lot to get to. We're going to get into that Lenore Sellers article from CBS Sports. It wasn't all about him, but it was about transfer quarterbacks. And if he leaves, does it change your expectations? It's the Halftime Show. 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. We roll right through. I will be out. I'll be honest with you. I've got some big doctor's appointments personally for myself tomorrow and Friday that will be very important to my future. And so I will be out tomorrow and Friday. So Tyler and Dave, you said you've saved up all your days this year. I think you're about ready to go on Christmas vacation. Is that right?
Yeah. It's, I do the morning show Friday, and then I'm gone till next year.
Now look out, folks. Captain Dave, the
ladies beware.
Oh dear Lord. Oh, couldn't have gone any different than I was going to say. Oh my goodness. The sophisticated grandfather was I was going to say. All right. Oh, good Lord. I have lost my train of thought.
What did I miss?
Well, I was going to say, look out, the sophisticated grandpa is loose for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And Dave just said, look out, ladies, beware. Now, Dave?
Be careful with that, Dave.
Should we clarify sophisticated grandmothers look out or all ladies? I can't see Dave. I hate this new setup.
Yeah.
These TVs don't move.
Now, are you asking me, should all ladies beware?
I'm not going to go down too much of a path.
The word beware is very dangerous here. I think we need to be careful.
Age appropriate. Let's go like, hey, man, Belichick's.
Yeah, well, I'm not Belichick.
I'm just going to say, I mean, there's some slight differences between you and Belichick, but I mean.
Besides, let's face it, younger ladies would look at me and go, oh, my God, run.
Hey, well,
they don't even notice me.
Hey, Dave, you've never lost a Super Bowl. Belichick's lost multiple ones.
You're right. I can use that. Let me write it down.
Boom, there you go.
You also aren't as grumpy as Belichick.
Yeah, that's
And quite frankly, you're a better dresser.
You've got a better personality.
You're a better personality. You're a better dresser.
Yeah, you're right. Hey.
You've lost weight. You look good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Give me
legal age. Legal age. Beware.
Legal age brunette.
Let's be very clear about that on this. I think, like I said, I got to take tomorrow and Friday off. This might not be my last show. I might have just cost myself a job. All right. Well, anyway, so this is it. This is our last show with you for the year. For 2020.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So I'm out.
Yeah, you'll be here tomorrow, so you won't see him until 26.
Okay. Huh.
See you next year, man.
Dave stocked up on the vacation days.
Listen, I learned my lesson around here several years ago. People can make fun of the days I take off. I did, and we do these shows. And we do them every day. We get a couple of days off here and there, but then essentially, as I've told other people, once football season starts, and I heard Dan Patrick say this years and years and years ago, that essentially, and I kind of took the motto with myself. Once football season starts, you're in the pool and you're under the water until after the Super Bowl.
There's not really any downtime.
Yeah, like you go underwater and you don't come back up until after the Super Bowl, and then a lot of people obviously we take summer days off, but that was that. Once I heard Dan Patrick say that kind of became my philosophy. Is that once we hit mid-August, as a matter of fact, there's no 2 weeks I hate doing more radio than the first 2 weeks of August, because everybody's like, talk about football, and you're like, we don't know anything yet.
Yeah,
we just spent all summer talking about it. Let's get 2 weeks in and at least build something to talk about. But so I've always had the Dan Patrick approach of like, once I hit mid-August, I'm underwater until the Super Bowl, and then it depends on how South Carolina basketball season is going and what baseball is doing. But yeah, like once Patrick left there on the morning show years ago, like that was like almost 2 straight years where I didn't take a day off.
Yeah.
And then I think it was last year I was like,
Yeah.
I'm using them babies because they don't roll. They aren't cell phone minutes. They don't roll over.
No, they do not.
And so, all right, Dave, congratulations. So, all right, so I got 1 hour left with the family here, and then we all start to slowly part ways. I'll be out tomorrow and Friday, and again, it's a personal thing with what I'll just say again, for me, is very, very important doctor's appointments that A, I look forward to, and B, I'm terrified of. So Tyler will have the fort held down. Brian Edwards will join us on Friday. Chris Deering will give you a high school recap. I'm actually over here begging Tyler, hey, don't talk about certain topics while I'm gone because there's stuff I want to talk about. But
I learned early on in my radio career, always empty the clip.
Yeah. Tyler's not where I don't. But
Early in my days in radio, I was like, well, if I don't use this today, I can use it tomorrow. And I've run into a situation like, empty the clip, reset, and start over.
All good, buddy. I know you'll hold it down and go from there. 803-404-6100. All right, the news of the day so far is it appears we now know it's being reported. It'll be official tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. or a little after 9 a.m. The Board of Trustees has now set a meeting to ratify the contracts, plural, multiple contracts for the athletics department, which, as we now are being led to believe by multiple reports, will be the hiring of offensive coordinator Kendall Briles, offensive line coach Randy Clements, and running backs coach Stan Drayton.
Yes.
Tyler Head, did South Carolina upgrade? Is this on paper? Yes. To me, on paper, yes. Hands down, Shane Beamer has improved his offensive staff 100%. We are under the assumption, and we'll know more. We're waiting now to find out when the press conference will be. And I know we'll carry it live right here on 107.5 The Game. But we are now waiting to hear the futures of Mike Furry, which we are under the assumption that will stay as wide receiver coach. I'll be interested to see if they do anything special with him to give him more money.
Right.
Like I mentioned a while back, maybe co-coordinator title, co in name only, just to be able to say, hey, let's give him an extra $500,000.
Sure.
I personally don't think you're going to lose Mike Furry. Sean Elliott, it's interesting that this is the direction that they went a little bit. Not that it's like a knock on Sean Elliott, but it appears he would go back to coaching tight ends.
That would be the assumption. And again, with how critical this upcoming year is, there's certainly belief that Sean Elliott, with a full offseason, could have gotten this offensive line to where they needed to be, but you don't know that for sure. And again, we didn't see a ton of change in the last handful of games, or basically the back half of the year when he was handling those duties. So, and again, it's not like you're moving on from him completely. He's still going to be in our staff, but I feel like that Randy Clements coming in here is going to give you a better opportunity at offensive line to develop these guys, especially within, because I don't believe Sean Elliott's ever operated under a veer and shoot type of, or air raid type of offensive system as an offensive line coach. So it may be the familiarity that's more important here when it comes to Clements coming in as your offensive line coach.
I will admit, those of you that have a lot more free time than I do, I've noticed that somebody hit us up the other day and was like, no, it's the, what'd you say? Yeah, the veer and shoot.
It's the veer and shoot. It's an offshoot of the air raid, but yes, it is technically speaking the veer and shoot offense.
All right, somebody that knows better than I do then. 803-404-6100. All you football geniuses out there, educate me. What in the world did we run with Steve Spurrier, with Connor Shaw, and Steven Garcia?
That's a good question.
What is our official zone? What in the world were they calling that?
See if I can find an answer for you.
Yeah, I just
fun and gun.
Well, that's what we called it.
Fun and gun
what we called it. Well, there was other names they used for it too, but cock and fire and whatever. Anyway, but you get my point. Like, but fun and gun wasn't. That was like what we called it because it was fun and I don't know. It was Spurrier. Like that was our own made up name. That wasn't a national name. You weren't like, oh, so and so's running the fun and gun in Nebraska now. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. See, I'm just reading some online speculation. This had focused on vertical passing, so it wasn't necessarily air raid. It may have just kind of been its own thing.
That's what I'm saying.
The concept of like an I don't know if you even call it an option offense.
Okay. I don't know.
Because again, we talked about this the other day. Like pro styles become so skewed now.
Zone option read. I don't.
Maybe. It varied depending on what quarterback was running it.
Well, that's why I narrowed it down to those two.
Sure.
Because obviously prior to Steven, it was that's when it started to all change. And then, and by the way, I spoke with G.A. Mangus. We're hoping to have him on maybe next week as well, just to talk about college football. He's got some interesting takes on college football and also what he's up to. But with all that being said, I don't know, veer and shoot, air raid, whatever. You know what? Put up points.
It's a college offense, is what it is. It's one that does not.
Now you say that. Let me come back to explain because I hear this a lot, and this has been an interesting concept and conversation. You go, it's a college offense.
Yes.
Are you telling me? And I don't know. I'm asking you, so you can say whatever you want on this, and I'm not going to argue with you. That what Shane tried to run for 5 years is not a college offense.
It's not a college-specific offense,
Okay.
I guess. I guess that's more the point. Like, this is an offense that only exists in this world of football, and there's a couple of elements to it. The tempo is something. You see a little bit of tempo in the NFL, but, like, when Chip Kelly went to the Eagles, tried to run a fast-paced, up-tempo offense, and the players didn't want to do it, basically, and that's why part of the reason why he kind of flamed out in the NFL, to a degree. But there's also the spacing issue. And we talked about this yesterday when we played some of the clips of Kendall Briles talking about, the elements of his offense. Of course, in the NFL, the hash marks are close together. I believe they're 18 and a half feet. In college football, they're 40 feet apart. So you have a lot more opportunity to where you can create space between where the ball is and where your boundary receivers are. So you can have, again, if you're on the far hash, you can have a boundary receiver all the way outside the numbers, and he's 3 miles away from those balls being snapped, which creates this entire no man's land there in the middle of the defense, which again forces the defense to commit a little bit more run or defend the pass. So there's a lot of elements of where you position guys that creates this offense that, again, you can't translate to the NFL because of the way the field's laid out.
Do we take anything away because Sonny Dykes ran his system? And what was Sonny Dykes' technical system?
That's more of a traditional air raid, I believe.
Okay.
But again, the veer and shoot's an offshoot of the air raid.
So it's kind of like, and we mentioned this earlier, Garrett Riley is in contention for the Coastal Carolina job. And I believe somebody hit us up earlier. I think it was my buddy Tyson hit us up on our text line, and basically said, like, I hope they better hope this TCU guy's better than the one up in Clemson. But I think the question becomes, like, did we see Garrett Riley's offense at TCU, and now he's allowed to run it at Clemson, and that's what it really is, because at TCU he was running Sonny Dykes, more of Sonny Dykes like input.
Yeah.
Did we see Kendall Briles? Now, Kendall Briles has a bigger resume, if you will, Florida State, Arkansas, so forth. Kendall Briles has a bigger resume prior to being at TCU, but there does appear to be a little of that element that Kendall Briles and Sonny Dykes, while not disliking each other, maybe had a few different philosophies, and that's why that offense wasn't quite
sure.
And maybe why Kendall Briles wanted out.
Yeah, and the belief from what I've heard is that was Briles' offense. Now, again, Sonny Dykes can veto things, I guess, and maybe they did have different ideas of philosophies on how to do things, how to use the quarterback and stuff like that. But you're right. We've seen a lot more of Kendall Briles as an offense coordinator. And at Arkansas, there was no play caller above him at head coach because it was Sam Pittman, an offensive line coach. We know for sure he was running his own thing there. But again, did they butt heads at TCU? Tough to say. There's a lot of other elements of why he would want to leave there, as well, with the relationship with the fan base and all that kind of stuff. But I believe he spent a majority of his career running the offense that he wants to run.
I'll say this. There's no doubt. I feel this way. Here's what I feel. Again, this is Bill Gunner, not Tyler Head, not Captain Dave, not everybody at 107.5. It feels like Shane Beamer looks at this and is like, hands up, it's your offense. I'm going to stay out of it. It feels, there is an element, and I can't explain why I feel it, but it feels like Shane Beamer is looking at this like, almost like Spurrier looked at defense. Like one time he didn't know that they'd moved Sky Moore, I think, the middle linebacker or something. I'm sure Shane Beamer's going to be a little bit more in tune of what's going on and know his offensive players' names, because I think, like, the time Spurrier wasn't sure of defense players' names. But that Kendall Briles realizes, like, my path to being a head coach is being a coordinator at a place where people know if this is successful, I did it.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit that next. How much does your expectation change with Lenore Sellers' decision? How much does what 2026 occur, or what occurs in 2026 under Shane Beamer and Kendall Briles, change your feelings for the future of South Carolina football and the future of Shane Beamer? Lenore Sellers now has the biggest decision, is the biggest holder of South Carolina's future, I think. And we're going to discuss that in the CBS Sports article that says Lenore Sellers is the swing player in college football when we come back. You're listening to The Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank. All right, I know there's a lot of things on your mind right now. Christmas parties, Christmas presents, maybe still decorating the tree, Christmas ornaments. You get the point. There's a lot going on. But there's a group of you out there that are also thinking about 2026 and what you want to do. I know the Fed, it's 2 o'clock now, right now. Jerome Powell's talking. Might be an interest rate cut. And you're thinking about maybe you want to refinance, or maybe in 2026, this is the year you want to purchase or build a home. Well, guess what? The first phone call that you need to make is to the mortgage guru and see what the interest rates are, see what options are available to you, and how much money you need or how much money you can get for that brand new home that you're thinking about purchasing. So call Jacob Crowder today. He helped me about 5 years ago. He's ready to help you. 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. Real quick, just real quick, because we don't. Pete Alonso this is actually the news of the day. If you want to go, I believe, national sporting news. This is the news of the day. Pete Alonso leaving the Mets to go to the Orioles. 5 years, $155 million. Mets fans, I was watching a video during one of the breaks. Some are losing their mind. Some are like, we don't want to pay that, and we had a really bad year, and it's time to blow the whole thing up.
He is.
And they just lost Diaz to the Dodgers, too.
Yeah, and he's out of the NL East and not my problem anymore.
Okay.
That's how I feel about it.
5 years, 155 for him? Fair?
Good for
Not
him.
fair for him?
Good for him.
Good for him?
Yeah, good for him.
The Orioles, you're like, hey.
How old is he?
Oh, he's not 30 yet, is he?
I don't think so. He is 31.
Oh, okay.
So
5 years takes him to 36. Okay.
yeah, probably the last opportunity to get a massive deal.
All right.
But
that is the big news of the day. Pete Alonso is the big sports national news. I did laugh. There was a tweet out there. This is not news, but I can't help but laugh. That like one of the Notre Dame accounts put up like one of the insiders or something, and it was like Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman is in his office right now plotting destruction on everybody in 2026, and somebody responded, and it's what looks like an Instagram, maybe it's a TikTok, I don't know, one of those things, and it's a video of Marcus Freeman, and he's got a screenshot of an airplane wing, and it basically says he's heading to Cancun, Mexico. Like,
well,
nope. I can see why. I know what direction he voted on for going to a bowl game.
Yeah, you got a couple extra weeks now.
Anyway, 803-404-6100. That, again, Pete Alonso news, your kind of your big sports news of the day. He is heading to the Baltimore Orioles, 5 years, $155 million contract. So there's an article out on CBS Sports. It's not directly, I mean, it mentions Lenora Sellers. The article kind of, Tyler, when I first read it the other day, I was like, so the way I read this, and I wanted to pull it back up now to read the exact wording of it, but the way I kind of read it was almost kind of like, it doesn't sound like Lenora Sellers is coming back. Like it was more towards like what it felt like Sellers was leaving than it was staying. But it talked about 10 players that kind of will change the draft, the NCAA transfer portal this year, and it highlighted him as number one.
Yeah, of the three possibilities of staying, transferring, or going to the NFL, I put transferring at the bottom of that list. We obviously know that he's not swayed by more money because he got offered more money to not be here this year, and
not by
he
much,
stayed.
though.
But still. I don't know. I just feel like he's either going to be the quarterback here next year or he's in the pros, and I lean towards pros. I don't see the portal being one of the likely options, in my opinion.
Really?
Now, again, I could be wrong, and I've not talked to Sellers. I don't know the insight, but I feel like it's either here or the NFL personally.
See, I go the other way with you. I go against you on that. I think it's either he's going somewhere else. There's rumors out there, substantial rumors, by the way, that Dylan Raiola, even though he's not in the transfer portal, remember the transfer portal doesn't officially open until January. I believe it's January 2nd, if I'm
January 2nd, that's right.
Okay, it runs until the 16th. So nobody has to make a decision until January or go public with the decision until January 2nd.
Right.
So Kendall Briles, Shane Beamer, whomever, and Kendall Briles, by the way, is going to be the coach for the quarterbacks. And by the way, somebody asked on our live stream, is Kendall Briles coaching in the Alamo Bowl? I don't know. And Sonny Dykes didn't really answer that question this week when asked.
I think he said they have a contingency plan in place in case, but that wasn't like a yes or no.
The sentence I said was basically nothing's finalized.
Yeah.
So anyway, but with that being said, I don't know what the plan is. I mean, obviously, aside from recruiting, Kendall Briles can make more than enough time to have a phone conversation with Lenoris or come by here and meet him in person if he has not already done that. But my question is, how much does his decision impact your expectation for 2026 and change your opinion of how important the year is? And I want to go back to this text because I thought this was really interesting, or I thought it brought up a question. And this is a texter from a little while ago, and it said, not too worried if Lenoris leaves or not. He had like 6 good games, and that's it. He's Anthony Richardson 2.0. Well, how much of that do you put on Lenoris, and how much do you put on that on the development year 2 of Mike Shula? Because in a hypothetical world, let's say he keeps developing at the pace he did in November of 2023. Excuse me, what year are we in? 2024 with Dow Loggins stays another year. Are we saying the same thing? Would have he developed? Like, there's so many questions now. So, like, when you say, well, I'm not too worried if he leaves, I feel like you're putting more of what happened on him and less on Mike Shula, whereas for most of the year we put more on Mike Shula and less on Sellers.
I think if you're thinking of it that way, and again, you're entitled to think about it whatever way you want to, I think that would be the implication that he can't go back to being what he was, even if you're only talking about that 6-game stretch. My thing is, if he stays, is Briles able to undo what Shula did that caused him to have his problems this year? Can he unlock the best version of Sellers that we saw 6 games a year ago and at times this year, but not throughout an entire game, unfortunately? Like, that becomes my biggest question. I do think it changes your perception of what this season is because of how good of an athlete he is and, quite frankly, how much I think he can thrive inside this offense. Again, we're going to draw comparisons to K.J. Jefferson a lot because they're similar type of quarterbacks. I think if given the opportunity to play under Kendall Briles, we could see LaNorris Sellers be as good as he was 2 years ago, maybe even better, because this offense seems to fit what his skill set is.
I mean, we saw it with, we saw it. We saw it's fair with K.J. Jefferson.
Yes.
And there's a lot of similarities between K.J. Jefferson and LaNorris Sellers. Let me go back to something I was mentioning. There's a lot of rumors out there that Dylan Raiola already has a deal in place with Miami. Welcome to the world of college football, even though Dylan Raiola is not yet in the transfer portal. For those of you who don't know, Nebraska fired his uncle, Dominic Raiola, who was the offensive line coach, hence opening the spot for Lonnie Teasley.
Right.
To come out there. I don't know if that's an upgrade, but there's a lot of speculation that Dylan Raiola, Nebraska quarterback, has already worked out a deal with Miami. Why is that important? Miami was a school that originally was linked with LaNorris Sellers.
Yes.
And for that to be a link, and who was it who put that out? Dennis Dodd? Todd McShay.
Yeah.
And I say that because that told me Miami was already working behind the scenes trying to line up their quarterback for 2026.
Which, like, again, we're not going to be naive here and pretend like tampering doesn't happen.
No.
You're doing your due diligence. You're going to lose another quarterback to the draft with Carson Beck, so you're trying to figure out if you're Miami who your guys going to be next year. And, hey, again, Sellers from an athletic standpoint has a really high upside. And if you believe he can come in and help you out, then you're going to pursue him. Doesn't mean he's going to come, but you're going to pursue him.
Well, and of course, now the speculation is not Miami. It's centered around LSU and Lane Kiffin. And, maybe so, maybe not. But my question to you is, because I think this is important, if LaNorris Sellers leaves, you've got two options. You're talking about starting a redshirt freshman quarterback essentially in Cutter Woods, who I don't know if Cutter Woods necessarily fits. Is he an awful fit for Kendall Briles' offense? I don't think so. Is he the same guy that maybe Kendall Briles wants? I don't know. That's a different kind of question. But you're either going with a redshirt freshman who's never played or played very sparingly.
Yeah.
Or, as I would expect, you're going to the transfer portal, and now you're putting your eggs in the transfer portal basket, and you're having to either go. You're going to find somebody. That's a complete 180 from one side to the other in terms of expectations.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again, we'll see how this plays out over the coming weeks and adjust our expectations accordingly.
And I guess, by the way, I should say, because he put out the tweet, Landon Duckworth put out that Kendall Briles was the first coach to offer him.
Yeah, but back to his Arkansas days, which was a long time ago.
Landon Duckworth put a tweet out. Was it yesterday or
Monday? Yeah, it was
Monday?
Yesterday, Monday night, something like that.
That Kendall Briles was the first coach to offer him, and he's like, let's go to work. But I still don't think you want a true freshman coming in, being your starting quarterback. It's not unheard of. We'll finish this conversation and get into a few other things as well. We're moving on. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Harris, The Halftime Show. 2:35 as we move toward wrapping this up. About another 20 minutes. Again, I'll be out tomorrow and Friday. Some personal doctor's visits that I will attend to that are big for me. So Tyler will have everything in front of him with Captain Dave is here tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And then he does the morning show Friday.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan for Friday is yet.
And then, as we said,
we'll figure it out.
Look out, ladies.
I'm assuming we'll probably wrap high school football with Chris Deering, look back on the championship game.
High school basketball is underway.
Basketball's underway. Again, the Bojangles Bash starts tomorrow, so can talk about that a little bit. Obviously, I talked about that on the show yesterday. So, yeah, we'll kind of transition with the high school stuff. We'll have Brian Edwards on as usual, and I don't know, see if we can line up some other guests. Scott Hamilton's set to jump in the next couple days, so that's the plan for right now.
All right, so there we go. So, again, just if you don't mind, keep me in your thoughts and prayers as I go through Thursday and Friday with these doctor's visits. 803-404-6100. Let's go out to the phone lines. Tim wants to weigh in on Lenore Sellers. Tim, how you doing? What's your thoughts on Lenore Sellers?
I'm good. How you doing? I wanted to say, brother, I hate you going through what you are. I prayed for you several times, and I'll keep on doing it. Just wanted to tell you that first.
Appreciate that.
But as far as Lenore's, to me, and I think stuff better not say it sometimes. So if I say it wrong, bear with me. It's irrelevant to me whether he stays or goes as to the upgrade to the offense next year. Anybody you put back there doing any semblance of scheming people open will be better than what they're doing this year. Does that make sense the way I'm saying it?
No, I get what you're saying, but I and this is what I'm asking. I think you're basing that on Mike Shula's, what we saw with Mike Shula, because...
No, I'm saying it's irrelevant. It don't matter which one of them it was, whether it was Sellers or Shula. It'll be better. You know what I'm saying?
So you're putting it, I'm asking, I'm getting it, but you're putting it all on Sellers then. The reason I'm saying that is because you're telling me that there are other quarterbacks out there just like him that you're going to put in there and it's going to be better.
I say anybody with the upgrade and the new offensive coordinator, it'll be better than it was last year is what I'm saying. I think it's on both of them. I don't think Shula really understood what he was doing, and I don't think Lenoris liked what he was doing. I think it's on both of them this year. And I'm not saying that ain't a hack on Lenore Sellers. I mean, I played for coaches. I'm 60 years old, but I played football for several years. I played for coaches I couldn't stand. Didn't like what they're doing. I thought what they're doing was stupid. I mean, this is a stupid call. I mean, you just ain't really into it. I play defense, but you really ain't trying to say it right. I ain't talking about loafing. I'm just talking about if your mind ain't right, things ain't going to go right. Does that make sense?
No,
if you ain't all into it.
I get what I get what you're saying on that, and that makes a lot of sense. 803-404-6100. Do you agree with that?
I feel like it's one of those things we're not going to know until we see it in action, right? Like, if Sellers were to come back next year and look phenomenal, then we say, okay, that was probably just Shula's fault for whatever he was trying to do out of him. But if he comes in here and struggles next year, we say, okay, well, maybe it wasn't all on Shula. Maybe it was the Lenore Sellers problem. I don't think we can definitively say that as of right now. It's kind of a wait-and-see type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go down the path of Sellers, because again, Sellers worked with Shula under Dow Loggins. Like, he knew what Shula was, and it seemed that he was in favor of the hire being made as a full-time OC, going back to what Beamer said about it. So I don't think it was like this resistance to want to work with him, because he seemed to be on board with it.
Here's the thing, and we're going to probably do this next. Let's do this next week. I keep saying let's do it. I say it off air to you. We've got that interview from SEC Media Days on the phone with Lenore Sellers.
Yeah.
Okay. Sellers is in Atlanta, and we're here. I think I'm here. I guess.
Yeah. He was there with me.
Yeah. Okay. That's what it was. He was sitting down with you. That's what it was.
He walked up and surprised me because I did not know he was coming until they sat him down.
That's right.
I was like, "Hey, Bill, we got Lenore Sellers."
Yeah. And we stopped everything we were doing. You watched him. You physically watched him. I think I might have watched him on the live stream.
Yeah.
He looked happy with everything that had been decided. And he sounded confident in it.
Sure. Yeah, there was no, there was, and again, I have to go back and listen to it, but I don't recall coming away from that like, that sounded kind of odd, or I didn't like that answer.
The only thing that was odd was when he basically said, hey, I don't know if he's going to be in the booth or on the field. I was like, why? What's the trick here? Why are we? How freaking hard is this decision?
That was a mystery all the way up until the season started.
That was a very odd thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that to me is a part of this is, how good. Look, I'll say this. I don't always believe in NFL scouts. But I also think NFL scouts can identify, like, talented players.
Yeah.
Just they might not be ready for the NFL, i.e. Anthony Richardson. Lenore Sellers is a talented player, and I don't know how many other quarterbacks are out there like him. And let's be honest, if he comes back, there are some pieces you've got to fix. Specifically for South Carolina. Now, this is me. Specifically running back.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to be in the minority of this until a year from now. I think the offensive line needs coaching, good coaching, but I think the pieces are there. The center is the big question for me. Okay. But I think the guys are there. I think you can formulate a mid-level offensive line out of the pieces there, one that can get the job done. I think the receivers are there. I think tight end is another question. That's a whole other situation, but I'm not as worried about tight end. And then you got to get a running back. You got to develop. But I think the pieces are there for a competent offense. And then if you get Dylan Stewart back and you find another defensive tackle in the portal to go with Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy in particular, I think you've got something going with the defense. Keep your guys, by the way.
Sure.
And my full expectation, by the way, is that Brandon Cisse and Jalen Kilgore are going to the NFL.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I expect Judge Collier back. I expect Brandon Cisse and Jalen Kilgore, and I'll put my name behind that. Those two I expect to be in the NFL. I expect Judge Collier back now, based on some things I know. That's not bad. Keep your linebackers. Keep Justin O. Get Donovan Darden in there, who they really like. Keep Dylan Stewart. Get Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy to develop. Get Jaylen Brown back. Hopefully he's healthy. He'll be a little limited for spring ball. Get Julian Walker in there and develop him. Get Desmond Zulu up to speed, Tyler, and then I think you've got 4 nice edge rushers plus whoever else you develop.
Yeah. Your
defensive tackles are your big key there. You got to get another 1 or 2 quality defensive tackles in the portal. The pieces are in place if Lenore settles back to say 9-3 is reasonable. Without him, I don't know if 6-6 is capable.
Yeah, and look, Sellers could leave and you could make a big splash land in the portal that completely changes. But yes, if you tell me Sellers is coming back, my expectations for this team are very high. If you tell me that he's leaving and I'm only looking at this quarterback room of 3 guys that have never started a game before, my expectations dip to where, like, okay, I'm hoping you're around 6-6 and can make a bowl game. Again, quarterback is so important, obviously the most important position on the field. It does hinge on that. But again, there's so many variables in terms of what your quarterback room would look like. If you get somebody in the portal or somebody that's familiar with the Briles system or something like that could come in and have an effect on that, it's tough to say. But yes, Sellers coming back would instill a lot of confidence in, I think, everybody.
It's 9-3 probably is the ceiling on that, if you want me to be honest, when I look at the schedule. I also don't think when you're talking about Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas, all replacing their coaches, getting Mississippi State on there. I mean, I'll be honest, all those pieces back, I think South Carolina, those are swing games. If you want to put them a little bit like 55-45 in favor of South Carolina, I get it. The Florida game obviously is on the road. But if you want to put them a little bit more in favor of South Carolina, or at worst 50-50, that's why I say 9-3. Without Sellers, though, now we're playing a game of who do you get in the portal, or are you going with Cutter Woods?
Right.
And now you play that game of in the portal, oh, boy. Now we're going to the auction and playing that bidding game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if South Carolina's ready to play that bidding game in the auction for what you need. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. It's been a busy show. We'll wrap up some of our final thoughts. You're listening to Tyler Head, Captain David Ayer, and Bill Gunner. It's the Halftime Show. Wrapping it up on a Wednesday. Tomorrow night, reminder, the SEC schedule release comes out. I wanted to get to this. There's a lot of stuff I wanted to get to. Again, I'll be out tomorrow and Friday for some doctor's visits. But I wanted to get to this, and we're not going to have time because I want to get back into the Lenora Sellers stuff for a second, and a text came in. Earlier today, Georgia canceled its non-conference game next year against Louisville, and this is happening.
Supposed to be a home and home the next 2 years. Yeah,
this is happening all over. We all know about South Carolina. I'm looking at the non-conference slate for teams next year. Alabama still has a Florida State game they got to finish up, but they've got East Carolina and Chattanooga. Makes sense. They were supposed to play West Virginia and Florida State.
Yep.
Auburn's got a game against Baylor that they're making up. Aside from rivalry games like Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Kentucky, Louisville, LSU's got a Clemson game that obviously they're finishing that series. Missouri's got a game against Kansas. They're finishing that series. Oklahoma against Michigan, finishing that series. Tennessee does play Georgia Tech. Texas is finishing a series against Ohio State.
Yep.
Texas A&M's starting a series, keeping it against Arizona State as of now, but they have a to-be-decided game. They canceled, or they've not scheduled one, and Vanderbilt plays NC State next year. So actually, I don't know what date that'll be on, but I'm kind of interested to have to look that up. The debut of Jared Curtis. I say all that because I get this text in, and I don't agree with it. DJ says, when is the best time for a QB to play? It doesn't matter if he's a redshirt freshman or a sophomore or junior or whatever. It'd still be his first time he started. I mean, what are guys supposed to do? Be like DJ Shockley and wait for 3 years and then get your shot for one season? Does it prepare them more or make them better to hold a clipboard for 2 or 3 years? Well, number one, here's why it matters right now. Because next year means so much.
It does.
If you told me, Shane, if we were going into next year where we were last year, where Shane Beamer's 9-3 right now, and the seat is perfectly cool, and I'm looking at you going, dude, after what he just did, Shane Beamer's got 4 years. You're right. It doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. Like, if this situation occurs last year, which it did, when they lost Dow Loggins, and he hired Mike Shula, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I think a lot of y'all were like, really? Yeah, that's who you're going? Okay, all right. Like, then it's different, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes your quarterback situation so much different now as opposed to what he's saying about a guy waiting.
Right. Yeah, it does. And if let's say Sellers was out of eligibility and went pro after the 24 season, and you went into this year having to break in a new quarterback in addition to a new offensive coordinator, I think we've been able to write off a 4-8 year saying, well, it's not great, but here's why you struggled. But having somebody that was within your offensive system as the play caller and quarterback coach the year before, and then having your experienced quarterback coming back, that makes a 4-8 year inexcusable. And you're right. You felt that, okay, you have a mulligan year coming off the 9-4 if that does happen. But now you don't. Where, again, you can't afford, if Cutter Woods maybe is ready, what he's not. You can't go in there. You specifically can't go into the season with, if Sellers wasn't coming back, 3 guys that have never started a game before. You would have to at least go out in the portal and get somebody with experience to have as a backup plan just in case, right? If nothing else.
And I'm not being mean to him, but you can't go get a Robbie Ashford.
You can't.
Not being mean to Robbie. Like, maybe they need a Robbie Ashford now if Lenore Sellers is coming back, where you go, okay, I get a guy with experience.
Yes.
But you can't
You would need a sure thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I say it changes the opinion. Now, DJ, you weigh in with that text. You're right to the standpoint of, like, if you're willing to say, hey, I'm okay with a first-time quarterback and he makes some mistakes and we lose some games in September, and that's why we brought this up, like, who do you want to play in September? Who do you want your first 3 SEC games to be against?
Right.
Because, hypothetically, if you wrap up September and you're 2-3, you've beaten Kent State and Towson, but you've lost your first 3 conference games, you know how this is. We all know how it's going to go.
Sure.
There ain't going to be anybody. How you could, these people, y'all will be screaming bloody murder. You'll be standing outside trying to fire Shane. You'll be trying to escort him in his car, pick up his car, and get him out of Columbia.
Yeah,
he can't do it. He doesn't get the leeway to do that. definitely doesn't get it if Sellers is back. And if Woods, I'm going to go Cutter Woods right now because that's the option that we believe to be the next case.
Right.
Again, if you go transfer portal, that's fine. I don't even know any quarterback. There's no quarterback names in there right now that we're really aware of. But it has to me, it has to change your expectation for what you're allowing. Now, so I'm going to use DJ, your name and your text, but I'm going to say if you're of DJ's opinion, you go, yeah, I don't care when Cutter Woods starts. And let's also be honest, DJ, in your scenario, you're right. That's not how college football is played anymore.
Right.
From the quarterback position. Guys don't do what Florida State did in the 80s and 90s and have guys sit 2 years or 3 years and then play them.
Yeah. We'll see. These are all questions to be answered here soon.
I got more I want to say. You think Terry and Jay would mind if we just told them to stay away for an hour? You're ready to go home.
I'm done.
I'm out for 2 days. I'll see y'all on Monday. Captain Dave, have a great Christmas. Take care, Tyler.